So when choosing sleeping bags, temperature is one of the most important things. So you need to know by use of Google or weather apps what temperature you are roughly going to be sleeping at. Now, sleeping bags come with different classifications. So warning, it is confusing and manufacturers do not help whatsoever. So one of the first classifications is seasons. So season 1 would be a sleeping bag that is kind of just suitable for home in the back garden, maybe a very hot summer.
Yeah, high summer. Maybe abroad, travelling in Europe.
Yeah. And then by the time you're getting to season 4, that would be winter. Season 5, you'd be looking at some kind of expedition somewhere super cold. So there is a second classification system that you can use, and I have the phrases here. Now these are actually EU standard phrases, and you have a comfort limit, a lower comfort limit and an extreme limit. Comfort limit is the temperature which a woman would be comfortable sleeping at night. The lower comfort limit is the temperature that a man would be happy sleeping at night, and the extreme limit is...
The extreme limit is the temperature at which you would not be in danger, and if you went below the extreme limit you would be then pushing the equipment right to its limit, and you could be putting yourself in danger from the cold.
More often than not you'll see confusion between these two terms and a mix between male and female, and more often than not you will see classifications just aimed at men. So being female, we need more warmth because of our body types than men do. So if you're only seeing one rating, can 9 times out of 10 guaranteed that is going to be a rating for a man.
Yeah.
So for example, if you see a sleeping bag that has a comfort rating of 0 degrees and it's only 0 degrees, assume that that's for a man, which means it's you would only be comfortable using that sleeping bag down to 5 degrees. So there's always a 5-degree difference on average between men and women. So if there's just one rating, assume that's male, and it means that that sleeping bag will probably not be comfortable for you. You need something that is 5 degrees more.
So we've got 4 different types of sleeping bags here to show you, and 1 quilt, which is a slightly different style. We've got 1 bag that is really not suitable for adventure camping, and then the quilt and 3 bags that are much better suited to adventure camping, and we'll look at them one by one.
So for adventure camping, this is probably the worst one that you could buy or borrow. It is nearly 3 kilograms, so it's really heavy. And it's really big. Trying to fit that in your backpack or putting it on top of your backpack would just be a nightmare. So if you're borrowing this one, don't. Try and borrow another one. Ideal for, you know, camping from your car or in a camper van, but not good at all for adventure camping. Yes, it will be snuggly, and yes, it will be really nice and warm, but a really bad idea.
So the second bag we've got to show you is a synthetic sleeping bag. So inside it are plastic fibres rather than the lighter weight down that we've got in some of the bags. Its weight is 1,700 grams, and I'd say that's about standard for a 3 to 4 season synthetic bag. And yes, it is a little bit heavy. You could save a lot of weight by paying for down, but down is a lot more expensive. This bag probably costs about £80 or thereabouts. Going to be one of the cheaper options that we're going to show you. It's rated. It's got 2 ratings on it, -5 and -10. -5 is about right for what you'd expect as a woman in the bag, and -10 is about what you'd expect as a man using the bag. And that will be the comfortable rating, so you should be perfectly comfortable sleeping at those temperatures. Opened out, you can see that this bag's a mummy shape. It's really narrow at the feet, so you don't have loads of cold air around your feet. And it's widest at the shoulders. It's not a women's bag. A women's bag would be slightly wider through the midsection to give more room for hips, bums and tums. So You can see this bag has got quite a small tight hood at the top, and that's really important so that you can tighten it round your face to give you a really nice tight seal to stop the cold air in your tent from getting into your bag every time you move. Inside there's a little skirt, it's called a baffle, and it's got a draw cord on again, and that tightens just over the top of your shoulders to form another layer that stops the air from going deeper down into the sleeping bag and making you cold. Most sleeping bags have a zip down the side that enables you to open them out to get in and out easier if you need it. This bag is actually quite special. It can be extended to make it a little bit wider. If, like me, you're a size 16, 18 or more, then a standard mummy bag is going to be a little bit tight for you over your bottom and your hips. This bag has two different zipping options. The main zip, which makes it a standard shape, and then inside there's a second zip, so you've got an expanding panel, and when you do that up, it makes the bag 6 to 8 inches wider, which is absolutely perfect if you're slightly on the larger side and find a mummy bag just too constrictive to sleep comfortably. So if, like me, you've got slightly more fat over your thighs and your bum, you're looking for a sleeping bag that's got an expanding panel to give you that little bit more room.
So this is our first down sleeping bag. It weighs in at 723 grams, so it is light. You can see how small it packs down to in comparison to a similar performance sleeping bag, the one we showed you earlier. So big difference, a lot lighter and a lot easier to pack. So this kind of size and weight is your friend when you're adventure camping. In terms of what temperature this one goes down to, this is going to be great at -2 degrees. So whenever you take a down sleeping bag specifically out of its bag, you do need to give it a shake to shake up all of the feathers. It's very similar to the synthetic bag. It's got the face cord to kind of tighten it around your face. It's also mummy shaped, so it's tapered at the bottom, so you've got less space around you.
This next bag is actually our smallest and our lightest option. It's one of the newer cheap imports that have come in from China, and we wanted to show it to you because it is slightly different to the standard sleeping bags. Inside, very standard mummy shaped bag, but it's got one major difference. It doesn't have a hood. So if you're choosing a bag like this, you're going to need to think about how you're going to keep your head warm. You're going to need perhaps a hat or something to wear instead. It's lighter though, because not having the hood obviously saves a bit of weight. This bag only weighs 565 grams, which is actually really light. It's by far the lightest one we've got. The ratings it comes with says that it goes from 8 to 2 degrees. I would definitely say take that with a pinch of salt. They're quite often stitched through, so the stitching goes from the outside right through to the inside, meaning that there's little patches that don't really have any insulation in. They're really cheap. There's absolutely no denying it. You can pick these up for under £100 quite easily. They're really light, they pack really small. If you're only ever going to be summer camping, you know, definitely think about it. The very last one we've got to show you, it isn't actually a sleeping bag, it's a quilt. Now, they've become really popular amongst ultralight backpackers, but I'd say they also have a really important use. If, like me, you are bigger around your bum and your tum and your thighs, a quilt will give you an awful lot more room and wriggle room at night than a mummy bag, which is going to be quite tight. The quilt is slightly different from a sleeping bag. It doesn't have a zip. You use it over the top of you, a bit like a blanket. It's got a foot box at the bottom, so you've got somewhere to tuck your feet into to keep them warm, and it's got straps that go underneath your bed mat to hold the whole thing sort of snug around you onto it. Again, they don't have a hood. You can buy these really quite sexy hoods to use instead, and although it looks really silly, they're actually really comfortable. And you can keep them on when you go for a wee in the middle of the night. So yeah, definitely something else to consider. They're much lighter than sleeping bags. They tend to pack slightly smaller because they haven't got the zip. As you can see, it's raining quite hard now, but we will keep going. So yeah, definitely something else to consider if, like me, you're on the larger side, or if you just want to save weight. My quilt weighs 650 grams, so not quite the lightest because the Chinese bag was lighter again. And the comfort rating, Most quilts are American. The comfort rating they list tends to be for men. So this bag is rated at 20 degrees Fahrenheit, which is -6 degrees C, and for a woman that means you'll be comfortable about 0. We need to talk a little bit more about the different fills available in sleeping bags and why they matter. I'm sat in a synthetic bag. Synthetic is a plastic material, little fibres, little strands of plastic. It's bulky, it's slightly heavier compared to down, but it's waterproof. You can soak a synthetic sleeping bag, it still keeps you warm. They're robust. I mean, you know, they're great for kids, they're great for people who perhaps aren't going to look after their kit quite as well. And they are a lot cheaper.
And I am in a down sleeping bag. So with a down sleeping bag, yeah, there are some ethics that you need to be aware of. Down comes from the feathers of geese and ducks, and there have been a number of unethical practices in terms of live plucking of birds, which is kind of not very nice. So we are big advocates of only buying products that are RDS certified, which is
The Responsible Down Standard.
the Responsible Down Standard. There is a badge, there is a logo, please look out for it. Down is super lightweight. It's great for warmth. It's also easy to kind of crumple down into something a lot smaller. So if you are adventure camping, it is great because it's lightweight and it really packs down small. One of the downsides is if it gets wet, it loses its warmth and it becomes really heavy. So if you are likely to be going camping and it is likely to be raining and you are worried about your kit, go for a synthetic sleeping bag. So our recommendations, we've given you lots of information. What on earth should you be buying? So for adventure camping in the UK, we would recommend a 3-season sleeping bag. You could go to 4 as well.
So that's rated to about freezing, about 0 degrees for a woman. Unless you're camping in winter, you should be comfortable with a 0-degree bag the whole of the rest of the year.
And if you've got a little bit more money, we would recommend a down sleeping bag because they are lighter, so easier to carry, and they take up less space because they can pack down small. If you're a little bit more budget conscious, then going for a synthetic sleeping bag would be ideal.